Greetings, friends. Today I'm going to tell you a story about my Uncle Jerry. The reason why I want to tell you the story about my Uncle Jerry is that my Uncle Jerry's story has been a great source of spiritual and philosophical inspiration for me, and I believe that it can do something similar for you. I also would just like to tell my Uncle Jerry's story because my Uncle Jerry was a great guy. So, the first thing that I should tell you about my Uncle Jerry is that my Uncle Jerry was not actually my uncle. I grew up calling him Uncle Jerry, and I legitimately thought he was my uncle. It was not until I was older, I believe it was late teens into early 20s, when I learned that he was not actually my uncle. He was my father's best friend. But they were together so often and around each other so much that it was just very natural. I'm sure at some point when I was a kid, somebody told me to call him Uncle Jerry. But it was very natural to just assume that was the case. I truly believed he was my father's brother. They were together all the time. He was the adult in my life more often than any other adults besides my parents. Jerry was a good guy. He was a very hard worker. He was a truck driver, and man, did he deliver for his family. If you were to go to their house, you would probably not suspect that he was a truck driver. Now, this is not to say plenty of truck drivers make good money. That's a blue-collar profession that has the potential for good money. But what I'm saying is the kind of house and the kind of life they had is something that you would expect more from like a upper level manager or executive or something like that. Just my point is he worked very, very hard to provide for his family. And he was just a good stand-up guy. And nothing can illustrate that more than the fact that when my father died, I was 14 when my dad died. And, you know, to anybody who lost parents when they were younger, you will know that when that happens, all the family friends will flood in and say, anything that you need, I'll be there, I will be there. And then they'll all disappear. Now, this is not a criticism. I'm not shooting anyone down. Life is a complicated thing, and we come in saying things and really meaning them at the time. And then the circumstances of life come in and complicate things. So I'm not criticizing, but I'm just saying it's a fact because I've spoken to other people who lost parents when they were younger. Everybody comes in and everybody wants to say, I'll do anything, but the vast majority of people will disappear. Well, my Uncle Jerry did not disappear. Yeah, I had a hard time after my dad died. I was very nihilistic, and I saw no meaning to anything. I alternated between not believing in any kind of spirituality or God and hating God with a venom and a passion. And yeah, I was not in the best place. My Uncle Jerry, he took real measures to try to look out for me and try to help me. And I think that is such a testament to who he was as a man. Well, my Uncle Jerry died a couple years ago, and I had lost touch with him in the family. I'd ask for updates from other people here and there, but I hadn't actually seen or spoken to him in years. He got hit with cancer, and it was one of those situations where it was, you've got this cancer and you've got like a couple months to live. Like by the time they got it, it was bad. It's you don't have much time, Uncle Jerry. So I got back in touch with the family. I tracked them down and I called them. I called them and I got my Uncle Jerry's cell phone number, smartphone number, however you say it these days. And I was told that my Uncle Jerry, he was not feeling well, and he didn't really want to talk to people on the phone, but he was texting with people. And I was texting with him he was in the hospital. I don't know exactly what the circumstances were, but basically this was the point where it was truly this is your way out, right? He was living on death's doorstep, and he knew it. His body was shutting down. Things weren't good for him. And so I texted him and I just said, hey, Uncle Jerry, it's me. You remember? Blah, blah, blah. He said my thing. Trying to keep it light. just, start out just by saying, hey man, how's it going? That kind of thing, right? My Uncle Jerry immediately texted back. And I'm not going to read the whole text out verbatim because that's kind of weird. But the line that I do want to share, because I think it's valuable and because I think it's a great testament to my Uncle Jerry, it was very simple. He just said, I love you and you will always be in my heart. Now, that simple line, that's not a line that's going to make it into a book of poetry. It's not profound. But the reason why it struck me so profoundly is because my Uncle Jerry, like I said, he was a truck driving man. He was a blue collar dude. He was a tough guy. When he and my dad were younger, they'd get drunk at bars and get into a fist fight, intentionally go out to bars looking to get drunk and to get into fist fights, right? Those kind of guys. And he was a great guy with obviously a great character. And he was also a very funny guy, great personality. He wasn't the type of dude to say, I love you. I've never once heard my father say he loved anybody before he died. And that maybe seems weird to people who who didn't grow up in kind of blue-collar type family situation. But it was actually the norm for me. I didn't really think anything odd of it. Men didn't say they loved anybody. It's just not a thing that you did. And yet, in that moment, my Uncle Jerry texts those words to me. You'll always be in my heart. I love you. Now, people often share the usual quote-unquote wisdom about how you never know when you're going to go, so you should always tell people that you love them. But that's not my point right now. That's not my point at all. I don't even really agree with it, to be honest with you. I actually try to practice that myself. That was something I ingrained in my mind and in my heart when my father died when I was 14, because I don't want to go from this world without people knowing that I love them. But I don't look at it as something like a approach to life that everybody should embody, and I don't, because it's just not reality. It's be freaking weird if if I'm sitting there with my buddy Mike, my buddy Jeremiah or something, and they say I love you, man, to be like, dude, this is kind of awkward, man. The way we express love is, buddy's having a hard day, go over and watch football. I don't like football. Go over and watch football. And just listen to him talk about what's going on while we're watching football, while I'm pretending to care about football. And every once in a while, this is how dudes express their support and affection and love for each other. Sitting there and just letting your buddy in between plays say, I just don't get it, man. I don't get why she has to disrespect me like that. I know, dude. That's not cool. That's how guys express love. Not all guys. We're not all the same. But and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? There are entire libraries of communication that are said in tiny little sequences of conversation between men that I think or maybe a certain kind of man. I don't know. Maybe it is a blue-collar male thing. I really don't know. But I just know it's how it's always been for me. And anyway, that's an aside. Just my point is there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't believe that my Uncle Jerry or guys like my Uncle Jerry needed to go around telling everybody that they love them all the time. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying, and here we go. This is the point. This is what I wanted to get to. And I hope that this has not absorbed your time, or that what I'm about to say is a payoff for it, because this is my thoughts. My thought is that I would bet that my Uncle Jerry had no idea that he had this burning love in his heart for the people around him and for life. It's the nature of life, the circumstances of life, that they layer bits of personality on top of bits of personality, like scar tissue, right? We have all this scar tissue. And by the time that you're older, you're calloused, which is good. We need to be callous because this is a hard world. But we hide our own light and our own love from ourselves. We forget that at our core, when all is said and done, we're about love, man. And listen, for real, I always try to separate myself from the kind of what I refer to generically as the New Age approach to spirituality. That's no offense to everybody in the New Age. It's just a handy term because there are plenty of good thinkers and people in the New Age. I think you know what I mean when I say this. I am not the type of I am not a person who just is always preaching about it's all about love, baby. It's all about life's more complicated than that. Life is clearly not only about love. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of hardship and harshness in life. And you got to fight. You got to be able to fight. No excuse. Weakness is unacceptable. Weakness is not okay to me, right? But you can strengthen yourself with love. It doesn't. The two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Is what I'm saying. Weakness and love don't have to. People misunderstand passion. Read how like the Buddhist scholars or even the great Christian scholars, listen to how they talk about compassion. It's not the way that people use it as just this excuse to be rolled over and to just, I don't know, to have no spine or no backbone or whatever. That's not what is meant by this compassion and this love. So I'm not trying to say that. And I'm not trying to enter that camp of what I consider to be kind of a trite look at reality. Just saying it's all about love, it's not that simple. It's not all about love. There's all kinds of things happening all the time. However, see, this is tough because I have my own worldview, my own way that I view reality. But I try to always frame things in a way that can communicate to people of any belief system. I'm going to steer away from where that my mind was going there with that a little bit. But what I do want to say is, despite the fact that I think just saying love everyone is a trite and meaningless statement, I do believe that it's true that in our hearts, that is the core of us, right? On this planet, this battlefield that we live on, it demands more of us, and we have to adapt. We can't just be about love, but beneath all of that, we are manifestations of love. And in your heart, there is this burning love for the people around you, for the world, for God. And it's almost like as we're going through life, like I imagine somebody burying a casket, right? And it's like our heart is the casket, and we are the grave diggers, and we are shoveling the dirt on the casket that is our heart, our love, and then we forget it, right? And then the grass grows on top, and we forget that deep down underneath there, that whole time was that love. And so that's the story that's the inspiration that I draw from my Uncle Jerry's story, and the reason why I wanted to share it with you. It's not just, sure, if you think of something like that, you hear that and you think, I want to go tell my mom that I love her, or tell whatever, then hell yeah, go do it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm saying that's not my point. What my point is to remember that in your own heart is this burning love. And because I would guess that my Uncle Jerry, if you had asked him 1 year earlier, just a couple months earlier, are you going to be texting people that you love them and that they'll be in your heart forever? He'd say, get the hell out of here, man. But when the time came, when he was in that bed, when the hours were drawing close, that's how he reacted. That's what was in his heart, right? And so just remember, we've all got this fire inside of us, and it can get squelched by life, but it's there. So remind yourself it's there and live with it now, and whatever that directs you to do, however it directs you to act or feel or whatever. Just remember. That's it. Remember, my friends. Remember Uncle Jerry, and remember that love in your heart. All right, peace out.